The Critical Drinker on Knight's Path, when developers just say no, and how a small indie game is making waves before its release. So, this is a video I wanted to go ahead and do. I did my reaction the other day to The Critical Drinker and his response to Resident Evil Requiem and how he's pretty much excited for the game to be coming out and everything like that, given his thoughts. And I wanted to do another reaction video because I did see that this was a video that he had came out with actually a few days before the Requiem video that he did. So, I wanted to go ahead and talk about this subject and everything like that because I thought it was pretty cool. So for anyone that doesn't know, Knight's Path is a game. It's a medieval RPG that's going to be coming out. So they had came out with a video of like the gameplay and everything like that for this game, and it looked like your average RPG kind of medieval type of game. For anyone that's ever played those types of games. Personally, I've never really gotten too much into like medieval RPGs like that. Nothing against them or anything. It's just something that looking back, I've never actually really got into or played myself. But they had come out with a trailer video kind of showing the gameplay and everything like that. So it was one of those things that they had brought the trailer out. They gave some information in regards to the game itself, some of the gameplay, some of the characters, and they ended up sending out a post here on X where it said introducing Amelie, one of the female characters you can form a romantic relationship with in the game. So they had just come out with this tweet, didn't really state much other than that, just kind of showed you what the character was going to look like and everything like that. And you see her, and you're just like, okay, it's a character you can see in like a medieval game. And there was an individual, as you can see right here, that had actually posted a tweet back to them and said, I hope you'll have some LGBTQ representation in the game. And then the game developers actually responded with, we care about gaming and fun, not modern agendas. And that response kind of got mixed reactions towards with people. There's a lot of people out there that are starting to show their support with this because of the fact that they appreciate that the developers are actually more focused on making something fun and something that gamers will enjoy. Because at the end of the day, let's face it, the gaming industry has kind of got hijacked with a lot of individuals, activists, as you will, that are more interested in kind of pushing their agenda as opposed to making video games that people will enjoy, making video games that are fun, and making video games that people would want to play. So seeing this type of response, I personally thought was pretty cool. And then as you can see, there's individuals like got Philip Chan here. He's one of the people I like to follow on YouTube and everything like that. I've actually done some videos kind of shouting him out and everything. He posted a post right here. It says pre-ordered. So just showing the love and support with the fact that they're not really focused on kind of pushing any type of agenda or anything like that. They're more focused on actually giving something that the gamers would want. So I thought that was actually pretty cool, and figured that with the drinker coming out with a video, we can go ahead and do a reaction to that, and yeah, just see what we got. So we'll go ahead and check this video out, and then I'll give my thoughts as we go along.
You know, one of the most damaging phrases to blight modern media has got to be, I need to see myself reflected in this, because it gives rise to some of the most ridiculous nonsense the human mind can conceive of. A small village in a medieval fantasy show set in a northern European climate, clearly it has to be an ethnic and cultural melting pot of diversity with absolutely no explanation for how these wildly different races of people all ended up in the same exact place.
And that's one of the things I've heard with a lot of these like modern day fantasy TV shows and movies and stuff like that, is the fact that, like he was stating, that you'll watch a show and it'll have a lot of individuals that are kind of like, they go to like a certain village or a little town or something like that, and it'll just be so diverse with characters. And when you're talking about modern day, that'd be something that'd be a little bit more common. But when you're talking about stuff that's like way back in the day, or like a fantasy land where it was hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago, more than likely, without there being things like planes and cars and stuff like that, faster ways to travel around, you're not going to see a huge diversity of different types of individuals. You'll more than likely see, one group of people, or maybe one or two, maybe three, that you'll see as far as differentiating themselves from others. But to see that there's so many like so many different cultures and people of different backgrounds like that in that type of time frame is just very unlikely. And the fact that it's becoming so normal in so many like fantasy shows and certain movies and stuff like that, for a lot of people, it can kind of take you out of it, which can be really annoying when you're trying to really get immersed into this world and everything.
That doesn't make sense.
A biographical drama about the Tudors set in 16th century England? Well, Anne Boleyn is black now. Don't question it, just accept it.
Yes, yes.
A video game that allows you to have an intimate romantic scene with a bear? Sure, why not? Because everyone needs to see themselves reflected in media. So it's kind of refreshing when every once in a while a company will turn around and proudly declare, no, you don't, you fucking narcissistic child. You don't need to see yourself represented in everything, because believe it or not, the entire world and all the teeming multitude of stories and legends and characters that inhabit it don't revolve entirely around you. You're not that important. If you need to see yourself reflected that badly, go look in a fucking mirror. Now, I'll admit,
And that's one of the things too, kind of I think about growing up and everything like that, because obviously when you grow up, you always talk to individuals, and they're always like, "Oh, who do you like more?" As far as video game characters or like comic book characters and stuff like that. Growing up, I remember I was a huge fan of the X-Men, and my favorite X-Men out of all the characters was always Cyclops. And it was one of those things that, just really enjoying the character because of the fact that, he was the leader, and he was able to kind of shoot laser beams from his eyes was something that I always thought was really cool. And when it comes down to myself, I there's a lot of things that would be different from Cyclops that I wouldn't be able to necessarily relate to when you look at it from that type of lens, as he was stating, where people are like, "Oh, I have to see myself." So you got to really take into consideration that there's a lot of individuals, like the most likely the person that had asked if there's going to be any type of LGBTQ representation. They kind of feel like they have to see themselves in these IPs and everything like that, and that shouldn't be the case, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I feel like everyone should be able to at least see themselves in all these different types of characters and stuff like that, whether it's movies, TV shows, books, any type of medium. You know what I mean? You should be able to kind of see yourself in that character some type of way, because of the fact that we all kind of share that human experience at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So
paraphrasing slightly here, but that was very much the case with the developers of Knight's Path, a low fantasy medieval RPG that's currently in development on Steam. The kind of low budget game that's made by a small but passionate team of developers who probably don't have huge resources at their disposal, but actually believe in the product they're making, instead of some monolithic quadruple A developer with thousands of manically depressed programmers toiling away on 18-hour days on something they hate. Kind of like what gaming used to be before it was dominated by 3 or 4 mega corporations churning out generic overpriced crap. Anyway, our tale begins about a week ago when the developers proudly showcased Amelie, one of the female characters that you've got the option of romancing in the game. And much to the shock of everyone, she was actually attractive.
No way!
I mean, that in itself is a fucking miracle in a modern game made by a Western developer, but let's not get hung up on that quite yet. It was around this time when one particular user posed the ultimate question: will there be representation for the entire rainbow of diversity in your romantic options for this game?
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
Fuck. Now, before we go on, I'm 100% sure this is just a parody account that was having a bit of playful fun at the expense of the modern audience. But it was the simple, blunt, beautifully honest response from the devs that really made the headlines.
Yep, we care about gaming
And
and
in
fun,
that
not
moment,
modern
dear
agendas.
viewer, a legend was born. I mean, the usual suspects took it about as well as you might imagine. But then, and this is the important part, so pay attention 007, they were never going to buy the game in the first place.
Nope.
Because they don't care about supporting small developers or uplifting independent games or even playing video games in general. They never did. People like that care about one thing and one thing only: attention.
Yep.
Stuff like this is nothing but performative activism masquerading as concern trolling, emotional blackmail in the guise of moral panic, throwing their imaginary toys out of the pram on social media to force companies, studios, developers and celebrities to bend over backwards for them, to waste millions of dollars catering to their ever-changing whims and demands, to ignore and even alienate the vast majority of the actual audience who just want fucking entertainment. It's been a losing strategy for years, and I think people are starting to realize that now.
And yeah, that's one of the things, like he's saying, it's kind of ridiculous when you think of something like a medieval RPG, fantasy game. at the end of the day, yeah, I'm sure there are some individuals who will just happen to be, gay or lesbian or something like that would be into this type of game. But when you look at the audience as a whole, is there going to be like a huge group of gays that are going to be trying to play a game like that are going to be focused on a game like this? More than likely not. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, there's always exceptions to the rule. So yeah, like I said, there's gonna be some people that are gonna be, just happen to be gay that are gamers that are into that type of genre. Yeah, but as the community is all together, is it gonna be one of those things where they're gonna be going out and supporting something like this? More than likely, no, that's not gonna be the case. So like he's stating, it is kind of annoying when, someone kind of gives a little bit of pushback towards that, and then they get met with a bunch of people that are just upset and starting to kind of criticize them or try to demonize them because of the fact that they're not catering to them, even though that more than likely that wouldn't be their main audience to begin with. And stuff like that is just it's one of those things where it can just get really annoying when it comes down to that type of stuff.
Believe it or not, this door absolutely swings both ways. I don't need to see myself reflected in every piece of media I consume either, because I'm not a narcissistic moron who demands constant validation for every part of my life. If I play a game where the protagonist happens to be a black wheelchair bound lesbian, I absolutely don't care as long as the game is good and the character is someone I care about. I don't
Exactly.
need them to look like me. Why do you think Lara Croft, Jill Valentine, Lee Everett, Aerith Gainsborough, and Barrett Wallace are some of my favourite characters ever? Actually, while I'm ranting, for fuck's sake, Capcom, bring Shiva back into the Resident Evil series, will you? It's been like 17 years already.
And I gotta say for myself, my favorite characters, obviously, like you guys will know by now, Link from The Legend of Zelda. I love Link. He's one of my favorite characters of all time. And then Leon from Resident Evil 4. I love those characters. Jill is also a really great character that I really enjoy playing as and really love a lot. So seeing that these individuals, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't be able to relate to them on like a physical level, you know what I mean, very like superficial type of level, but at the end of the day they have a lot of traits and everything like that I can either relate to or I can admire as an individual that I would be able to that would hope to strive to kind of be as good as them in certain aspects, you know what I mean? So yeah, you gotta really look at it from that type of lens as opposed to really looking at it as do they look like me or do they act like me? And if not, then I can't relate to them kind of a thing. That could just it's a really shallow way of looking at the world.
My point though is that not every group, demographic, niche, and subculture needs to be represented in every story ever told. Sometimes the time and place don't allow for it, sometimes there isn't enough resources to cater for every possible combination, and sometimes they're just not fucking needed. Storytelling doesn't work that way, and neither do human beings. As people, we're more than just the colour of our skin, what we have
Hmm.
between our legs, or who we like to bump uglies with. Yeah, some people feel the need to make those things their entire personality because most of the time they've got nothing else to fall back on, but those people, luckily, are few and far between. They just happen to have a very loud and obnoxious voice online, and they don't represent the vast majority of the audience.
Nope.
So go ahead and make your game Knight's Path. Make it the way you want to make it. Don't bow to social media pressure or modern audiences, and let the real audience be your judge. Maybe other gaming companies could stand to follow your leads. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Go away now. So yeah, with that being said, I gotta agree with Drinker for sure, and it is one of those things where you really do gotta give props to the developers and everything like that for kind of standing their ground and like I said earlier, not catering to these individuals who more than likely wouldn't support their projects even if they did kind of do what they wanted. If they did kind of either bend the knee to them or just cater to them in general, and it ended up alienating the actual individuals that would go out and purchase their product and actually support them. So seeing that they did kind of stand up for themselves in that regard, I think is really cool, and it's something that I really hope to see more of in the future when it comes down to this type of stuff, because at the end of the day there's lots of individuals out there that will kind of push for this stuff in a kind of like a bullyish kind of way. So seeing that they're not gonna let that slide and that be the case, I think is something that is really cool to see firsthand. So like I stated earlier, this isn't necessarily the type of game that I would purchase myself, But after seeing that the developers were able to kind of give that pushback and focus on actually giving something that the gamers would want, something that would be fun and enjoyable, at the end of the day, they're gonna get my support. I've done that before with other games in the past, like Sense, a Cyberpunk Ghost Story. I know that they had some pushbacks from some individuals online before, and I remember I ended up purchasing that game on my Switch to kind of give that support to them and just show that if you're willing to kind of stand up for yourselves in that regard, we us gamers are definitely going to have your back. So really cool to see. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you guys could like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you guys have been watching this long, I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And yeah, until next time, Harmonic out. Peace.